Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. In this one, I'm gonna be walking a very thin line between actually making sense and offending other people. So stick with me until the end of this video for me to express everything that I say, and then you can make your own decisions, research, but please take everything with a grain of salt. I think that human nature is a double standard. We always say something, but then we actually don't mean it. We mean something different. So we might say, okay, I like when a person has a good personality, but then you go, for example, women, then they go sleep with the bad guy who doesn't give a fuck about them. So what does that say about humanity? We have double standards, and the things that I'm gonna talk about in this video might trigger some of you, but they are actually true if you just put your subjective views aside. And in this video, we're gonna talk about the traits that can be attractive to women, although they don't actually say that they are attractive to them. Long story short, let's start with the number one toxic masculine trait. Number one, which is attractive to women in men, is being totally independent, which means refusing to ask for help. Now again, this is gonna be a very thin line, but let me explain. When you have your problems, when you have your issues, your obstacles to deal with, the moment you run to other people is the moment you lose power over the situation. Again, it doesn't mean you cannot ask for help, but hear me out first. When you have a problem, do you talk to other people about the problem, or do you get up and actually solve it? So yeah, it is totally okay for you to ask for help from other people, but do you actually take the time, sit down and concentrate on what you can do to solve the problem? Or do you run to other people right away? I had this situation where I had like a very complicated situation with documents, and I definitely needed a person who knew the language of those documents. So of course I couldn't do anything. So I just called that person to help me with the documents and translate and be by my side when I'm solving these problems. Now, that's a situation, or that's an example of a situation where you actually need somebody's help because you cannot actually solve this problem. But all in all of the problems that you have in your life, you have to be able to solve them alone, because it builds your character, it builds your personality, and it makes you more confident about yourself. Number two toxic masculine trait women actually desire in men is gonna be consensual intimate aggression. Now the word consensual here is the key word. Don't you think that girls like a bit of a untamed monster type of energy? Or do you think they like guys who are always the nice guys, always willing to say, okay, I can do this for you, I can do that for you, but doesn't have the backbone? Who do you think girls are gonna like more, the first guy or the second guy? If you listen to one of Jordan Peterson's talks, he says that to become a successful man, you have to become dangerous, and then you have to learn to control that thing. You have to learn to control that energy. You have to learn to discipline yourself. Now, if you think about it, all the men who don't control themselves and who are not disciplined are the ones who are dangerous. That's why you see guys who are emotionally expressive all the time. They scream in the streets, they say whatever they want to say, and they don't have any type of stoicism, they don't have any type of discipline. But when you have this dangerous type of energy, right, you might be the most stoic guy out there, you might be very confident in your skills. When you have that thing and then you consciously control it, that's what makes girls go crazy about you. And the same thing goes to relationships. When you're talking to a girl, instead of being always the nice guy, instead of always being available and saying yes to everything, you have to stand your ground. You have to say, okay, this doesn't work for me, this works for me. Sometimes you have to take the lead, sometimes you have to let her know that these things are not okay. And that just basically means you are not just aggressive because you're aggressive. You have this energy which is deeply controlled by you. Toxic masculine trait number three that girls actually like is gonna be being protective. Now this one actually goes kind of against the culture nowadays. You as a man who is physically stronger has to be always in touch with your nature, and your nature is that sometimes you have to be protective, sometimes you have to be able to stand up for yourself and for the girl. Why do you think girls like people like Brad Pitt and Jason Momoa when they see in the movies? Yeah, of course they are attractive. On the other hand, they also see them as strong, protective, stoic men. And although nowadays girls might say, no, we don't need anything like that, that's Stone Ages. You know, life is not like that. Life is not linear. Any type of situations can happen in life, and you being protective, which is quote unquote a toxic quality, can actually be helpful or can actually be more attractive than you think it is. Now, trait number four is stoicism. And you might say, hey, but stoicism is not really considered to be toxic. To that, I'm gonna answer, not really. If you just Google toxic masculine traits on Google, right? Just type it in the search results. You're gonna see stoicism is there. You're gonna see that stoicism is one of the traits which are considered to be toxic. And you might say, okay, well, this is just Google. Why does it matter? Well, it does matter. That's how people get their information right now. That's how people get educated right now. People mostly Google shit nowadays. They don't really talk to people. They don't really learn from books. They just Google and find the answer research there. So if you see Stoicism as one of the most toxic traits, then probably most people think like that. And why shouldn't they, right? Because Stoicism goes hand in hand with masculinity. It goes hand in hand with everything that is related to toxic masculinity nowadays: being in control, dominant, being strong, being decisive and ambitious, and etc, etc. So of course people will say that it might be toxic. Stoicism is, in a nutshell, is just you being aware of your emotions. Now you can obviously read the great Stoics and you can read their material, but I think one of the most important lessons that I learned from Stoicism is that whatever happens to you is just the act, and your response is gonna be your responsibility. So let's just imagine there's a car, right, driving really fast on the rainy day, and you're just standing there waiting for the lines near the pond. Now the car flies really fast through that pond and just splashes all the water on you. Of course, in this situation you can blame the driver, you can blame the weather, you can blame the rain, you can blame everything. But can you actually analyze the situation? Can you actually analyze your own behavior? Do you think you could have been standing in a different place or in a different direction that thing wouldn't happen to you? Basically what I'm saying with this example is that whatever happens to you is just the act, and how you respond is gonna be really up to you. It's not up to the people who made that horrible thing happen. It's really up to you on how you're going to react. The last masculine trait that I think considered is toxic, but actually is desirable to women, is gonna be controlling your emotions and sometimes just being emotionless, just shutting it down. Again, there's gonna be a fine line that I'm gonna be walking now. It's really important for you to embrace your masculinity and your femininity as a man. And sometimes if you're in a cinema or if you have any type of emotional moment, instead of holding on to those tears, you can just let it out, man. No problem in that, no shame. But on the other hand, in any type of difficult situations, are you just gonna burst down to tears? Are you gonna be reacting emotionally in that situation? Are you gonna be complaining about the situation? Or are you gonna say, okay, this thing happened, what can we come up with to implement that in this situation to make it go away or maybe solve this problem? But not only that, emotionless does not mean you're not emotional only when you're with a girl. It also means that not being emotional is not trusting all the emotions that you have. So for example, if you're having some type of desire to watch adult content, that's your emotions. You cannot really control it because emotions come and go. It's your duty to either control them or to divert them into something different. You cannot just trap the energy. You cannot hold on to energy. It's like money. Like you cannot just hold on to money because it's gonna lose its value. Money has to be coming in and going out, just like the economy, right? That's how the world works. That's how economy works. And the same thing goes to energy. When you have negative emotions, you cannot just trap them and shove them deep there. You have to either divert them, you have to go to the gym, sweat it out, or you have to do something, meditate, but you cannot just trap the emotions. So not being emotional does not mean just trapping your emotions or not listening to them. It means being conscious about how you're gonna approach the situation. Conscious about your emotions, understanding them, and finding solutions to divert them or either use them. If you like this video and this channel, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. That will help with the algorithm, and I'll see you in the next one.